It's being invited here today. Very happy that I was invited by the Trinidad Tobago Stock Exchange. I think that this entire idea of looking for alternate sources of finance is incredibly important. Speaking to many of the SMEs, manufacturing and in different sectors, they feel the current requirements, particularly for expansion and dealing with traditional debt financing, particularly when it comes to how much collateral is required, they find it pretty onerous. And it doesn't matter how much money they're making, how much profits they're making. For them, the current requirements and conditions, particularly when it comes to collateral, by going to the commercial banks, it's not something that they're comfortable with, because we have to understand in a very real sense that all successful businesses do have a certain level of debt to the banks, or do have a certain level of financial debt anyway. As a matter of fact, if you're going to really expand and expand successfully, or you have a plan, it often means that you are going to perhaps run close to the wire as you're doing so, or run close to the red. And so therefore, the idea that is being promoted by the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange to use this as a way to to fund your plans and fund your expansion, I think has some merit. What you do have to understand though is that it critically, and it's very relevant to say right now that we really want to see expansion. We want to see expansion in the manufacturing sector in particular. We want to see expansion in those sectors of our economy, agriculture, agro-processing, things that can transform into an export-oriented business, things that can transform into an import substitution business that's going to lead to an export-oriented business. And why? Because quite simply, we are in, the current supply of Forex is not enough. And the business sector, private sector needs to understand that. And so we need to change the things that we want to find ourselves reaching for. And exports is really what can make the greatest change on the economy over the shortest period of time, other than what happens at the energy sector. And so therefore looking for financing or accessing capital through means alternative from the commercial banks is critically important. I do believe, listening to the panel discussion, I found it very interesting. And I think that I just want to say a couple of things. I don't believe that this type of listing on the stock market is ready for a start. I believe it's ready for a mature company. I believe it's for something in which you're already making a substantial amount of profits in, and that your initial requirement and your primary requirement right now is how do I get bigger, and either by acquiring another company or by building building more plant, machinery, or whatever it is that you need. I don't necessarily think at this point in time, I don't particularly think that at this point in time, seeking to finance expansion because you're going to require more US dollars is a smart thing to do. That being said, some of the things that we heard, with particular regard to how your company is seen, how your company is seen in the country in a sense. Is it word of mouth? If it's something that you do very quietly behind the scenes and you're very successful at it, I don't necessarily think that you're going to find yourself getting the buy-in that you need, which is why thinking about listing in the stock exchange is something that has to happen even before you actually begin the process of doing it. You have to align your company, as many of these people have said. You have to market your company way in advance of the pitch. And if you do that, you may find yourself in a better scenario. With regard to if you're already looking at listing or getting there. We talk a lot about, this, what I heard today about the third generation is often the generation in which the business pay. I heard that after Lovejack, and I see Mariano Brown and Dr. Mariano Brown, when I was doing my MBA as well too. And the reason for that is most businesses start off as mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, and then move on to mom and dad, and then mom and dad have 2 kids, and each of the 2 kids have 2 families, and then 2 families have kids of their own, and then all these people start to accumulate in one business. And therefore the family grows at a faster pace, and the needs of the family grows at a faster pace because the family is enjoying a better standard of life through every level. And the business at a certain, at a certain point can sustain it. And then we reach to the 3rd generation, the 4th generation. And that is why the success of the expansion of a family business has to include this expansion, has to continually think about its expansion to feed itself and its needs. Not only that of the business itself, but of the family, growing family that it begins to now encompass behind the scenes, which is not been spoken about. And that is why looking at this as, as a critical means of accessing finances to move forward, and to get into things that perhaps the banks may not necessarily bankroll for you, I think is very, very important to look at. Obviously, you need to do your own cost-benefit analysis. I mean, we talk about it as though it's a seamless experience. Lisa gave, I thought she gave a really good perspective on how to prepare yourself and what to look for. But the reality is you have to do your own cost-benefit analysis because it is going to cost. It is going to cost. It's going to cost, I think, significant amount. If you want to actually do this, prepare yourself. If you haven't been prepared, prepare your processes, hire the right people, and hiring the right people isn't going to be cheap because the right people, they're going to value what they're coming in to do. And so when you get to that stage, you're already at a higher level of cost. And so therefore you need to know, when I am in the process of listening, what am I going to do after? What are we jumping to? And what is the timeline? So that I can satisfy the people that have bought in, my shareholders, and the dividends that I'm going to pay to them. The other thing is our culture. We speak a lot about culture, and I was happy to see that because it's real, right? And our culture is not one where the older folks or the founders like to be put to pasture. I have not spoken to any owner of any business that speaks, in reverent tones about, I want to retire. This is unlike, let's say, the West, America, or Europe, where people look forward to their retirement. Most of the owners and founders of companies, whoever old they are, feel that they still want to walk into the company every morning because this is something that they built and they enjoy the status, they enjoy the authority. And so for young people who are now the ones who are pushing the listing on the stock exchange and bringing that transformation and change, you really have to be diplomatic in how you address this. And you can't address it by saying, hey dad, hey grandpa, you can retire now and you can sit down there and you can get all the money and things will work out and we're going to get bigger and we have all these plans and take them completely out of the picture because they're going to kick back on it. However successful the business is going to become. So you have to find a way to be inclusive and bring them in and bring them into the process. And that may be your easiest way to move forward. One of the last things I really want to talk about is I think we should look towards, when we're thinking about expansion. I saw some of these guys saw this, I see people getting into manufacturing, distribution, retail. And so when you're looking to expand your company, look to expand your company in a way that is sustainable. Look to expand your company in a way that allows you to diversify. So when your plans come, and you need to have plans, your plan can be, I'm listing, and I'm heading towards this IPO, and that's the pinnacle, that's what I'm going to do. You have to think beyond that, and further beyond that in a sense. Because you're going to continue to need to expand to satisfy the demands of what your shareholders want. We spoke about the secondary market here. And what happens in the prime, when that first set of shares goes out, there's going to be people that know about the business, your stakeholders. Those are the people that are going to snap it up first. But where you're really going to find the benefits is when the share price starts to appreciate and is actually able to be traded to other people. And for that, you're going to need to continuously strategize what my company is going to do. And I think that given what we see in our economy, given the external shocks, external politics, external global conflicts and stuff like that, I think you will find yourself, it's in your best interest to really think about what areas within our economy you want to get involved in and diversify and shift your business slowly towards. I've spoken to a lot of SMEs that want to do this. They want to move from retail. They want to move from some aspect of distribution. They want to get good. They want to be, they want to move to manufacturing, agriculture, agro-processing. And I'm being very honest and saying the banks are not cooperative. The banks are not saying, yes, we're going to give you the money for this. Yes, we agree with your business plan. They are not. And so we are the Confederation, working with PSOTT and lobbying with the government, are lobbying very strongly for alternative sources of capital. And the reason for that is I can't see how we can diversify. I can't see how we can get businesses. I can't see how young people like somebody once I see here can really get into innovative startups if we don't do that, because quite simply the current banking structure, and I don't blame them for it, that's how they see it, is not going to support that. They're not going to support that unless you have very deep and very wide assets in which they can use as collateral, or you have exceedingly deep pockets with which you can secure a portion of your loan or secure all of it. So, I think this push by the Trinidad and Tobago stock market is critically important at this time. I would say go into it with all your eyes open, and obviously you must take some legal and financial advice if you haven't started to do so already. But this is certainly something that you can look at, put into your plans over the next, I would say, 4 to 5 years. Start to prepare, start to take advice on where am I right now, snapshot of where am I, where I need to be, and then where we are going to be once we cross over and we now have shareholders to satisfy. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take too much of your time. Thank you.